All right, good evening, everyone, or good morning to wherever you are. This is Dr.SHIVA Ayyadurai. Today, we're going to have a very interesting show with two of my colleagues, people who are in the leadership training at Truth, Freedom, and Health. And we're going to be talking about the Zionist racist, Booby F'n Kennedy, who you're going to realize is absolutely a rabid pro-war, quote-unquote, liberal imperialist. So there's a lot of very loaded adjectives there: Zionist, racist, Booby F'n Kennedy, pro-war, liberal imperialist. Every one of those words we're going to back up today, because each one of those words come from a deep history, and it's important people learn political history. That's what we're going to talk about. What the agenda for today is, I'm going to introduce our two Truth, Freedom, Health warriors. They're going to share with you their journey to our movement. If you want to know more about our movement, in about 15 minutes, I'll play you a video which will give you more understanding. But anyone who wants to become a warrior scholar, go to truthfreedomhealth.com. You're all invited to come to our orientation that we do, open house. You'll meet amazing people. Every Thursdays, we do it at 11 a.m. and at 8 p.m. EST. You simply go to vashiva.com/orientation and you can join us, okay? vashiva.com/orientation. So that's one thing I wanted to let everyone know about. But the movement for Truth, Freedom, and Health is really dedicated to educating you. And the important historic task that we are dealing with right now to educate people, not on the obvious establishment like Biden's and the Clintons and the Obamas and the Bushes, that's easy. But we are here to educate you at this historic point with massive vehemence and in a laser pointed fashion, the not so obvious establishment, the Kennedys and the Trumps. And that is why I'm very, very unadulterated about exposing these people, as I've said, the right curse word at the right time for the right person, because there are a lot of you out there who are now starting to awaken and you're figuring this out. And we want to let you know follow your intuition. These guys are all scumbags. So Jason and Justin, who'll be joining us, will be introducing your journey, how they came to Truth, Freedom, and Health. Then we're going to spend a little bit of time, because there's a lot of people, as many of you know, Kennedy about 24 hours ago, because he's such a scumbag and he speaks with a forked tongue, is a Zionist, racist, went and supported this fool called Shmuley Bullreach. And we're going to talk about him because he needs to cow down to the Zionist war machine to get funding. Because that's every president has to go suck off the Zionist lobby. And by the way, let me be very clear. Zionism is different than the concept of, this physical geography called Israel, which comes from the Old Testament, and the religion called Judaism. So we're not going to let them confuse it, because that's what they do. And they put it in all one big mess. And then they call you an anti-Semite and stuff like that. But Arabs are Semites too. Okay, we need to recognize that. So we're going to then, after Jason and Justin introduce themselves, we're going to expose all these contradictions. All these people are suddenly saying, oh my God, why is he supporting this Zionist racist hoodlum? Well, that's what Kennedy's always been supporting on many other areas. So we're going to review that. And then we're going to go through, who this hoodlum is, that because Kennedy's also hoodlums hang out together, that he supported, and the contradictions. And we're going to end with showing you a very clear line from John F. Kennedy to the other Booby, RFK, to Kennedy, that the entire Kennedy family is pro-war. And anything you hear about them being pro-peace, it's just pure propaganda, okay? It's created by the PR machine that Kennedys have used to convert them to whatever they want. And the Kennedy PR machine can take Charles Manson and make him smell like Mother Teresa or like Jesus Christ. That's how good the PR machine is. So let me bring in our two we have Jason Valera from Maine and Justin Zalewski. Justin, you're in, you can unmute your guy's self. Justin, you're in Ireland, right? So I'm going to.
Yeah, I'm in Northern Ireland.
So Northern, I'm going to put it so people. So our movement is a global movement. As everyone knows, we have close to 500,000 people in 120 countries. So Justin is in our leadership program. Jason has been in it for a while. So let's begin. The first part we want to talk about, again, to those of you just joining, the title of today's conversation we're going to have, and we may even open up the call-in lines to take phone calls, is Zionist racist Booby F'n Kennedy pro-war liberal imperialist. So let me begin with Jason. Why don't you take about a couple of minutes and share how you came to our movement and who you are, right? How you came to the movement. People need to know your background. And then if you can share it with that'd be great. First, perhaps start who you are and then how you came to our movement. And then Justin will do the same thing. Go ahead.
All right. Yeah. Well, first of all, thanks for having me, Dr. Shiva. So, I appreciate you inviting me to this conversation. My name is Jason Valera. I live up in Maine. I grew up in Massachusetts, been up here for a while. I've done a lot of different things, from roofing to I was a welder for a long time. And now I'm actually a carpenter in a shipyard up here in Maine. I've had like 3 different jobs since COVID because because I stood my ground and I didn't take the vaccine. I feel like I had a lot of support from Truth, Freedom, and Health. And I'm very glad that I didn't take that vaccine. Nobody in my family took it. My kids didn't take it. And, a lot of people took it and they regret it. I don't think many people who didn't take it regret not taking it. So I'll just say that real quick. But I found Dr. Shiva when COVID was going on. It was a blessing because I am a family man and I'm not a doctor or a scientist, though I have learned a lot from Dr. Shiva. I needed to learn a lot at that point because I was nervous for my family. So, first thing he taught me was the immune system, and I'm very grateful for that. And I've learned a lot since then, and I've met a lot of great people in this movement. And yeah, I'll stop there from now. I've been in this movement since 2020, and I would suggest anybody. I've learned systems, obviously. It took taking the course, and I would suggest that anybody do that. It'll just give you a lot of clarity and help you to think things through. The way they're throwing stuff at us nowadays, it's important to be able to decipher what's really going on. So, yeah, thank you.
Great, Jason. Jason, did you share with people that you're a welder, right? That's your training.
Yes, I was a welder for many years. I'm actually a carpenter right now in the shipyard. I'm working in a shipyard building big ships up here in Maine.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm in the carpentry shop now. Yeah, I'm in a union. So yeah, that's fun.
All right. One of the things I think people need to recognize is our movement is not funded by lawyers. There's no big billionaires. It's all bottoms up. So let me go over to Justin Zalewski. Justin is in Northern Ireland. Justin, I think people would find valuable your journey to Truth, Freedom, Health. Truth, Freedom, Health. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I suppose I've been researching and studying a lot of stuff for maybe at least 20 years. I always knew something wasn't right. And over the last years, especially when COVID happened, everything was amplified, and I realized it was a scam. I refused to participate in any of it. I would do no contact tracing. I wouldn't do any of I wouldn't wear masks, and I wouldn't wear the hand sanitizer or use the hand sanitizer. And I mean, I came across your work probably a lot before the COVID thing happened, and you were on the periphery. But as things started to amplify, a lot of stuff wasn't adding up, and I just realized that people were completely incongruent, were telling lies. But the stuff that you said, even though I never paid that much attention to you years ago, I never could ever catch you out on anything that you said. And one thing that I really noticed that made you really stand out from everybody else was you had absolute, total personal congruency. What you said, you meant, and you could back it up with the facts. And I was just noticing that lots of other people were saying things, and then they would be saying other things that didn't add up, or they did lack personal congruency. So I came across the Truth, Freedom, Health movement probably really only a month or two ago. And when I just studied it, looked at it, and just watched the videos, everything made sense. So I just signed up right away. I just thought, you know what? I found that whatever you were saying and whatever you were delivering actually made total sense. So I just went, signed up, got on board very, very quickly. And it's such an easy thing to do. I suggest anybody, you can join for free. Just go out, check out what there is to be said. It absolutely makes sense. It adds up. And for me, especially being involved in the world of sort of personal development stuff, I could see the psychology, I could see the mind manipulation, I could see the fear that people were being fed, and I could see the massive lies and the personal lack of incongruency, especially in the UK with Neil Ferguson and all these different people who were just lying through their teeth. But I just see now there's a massive shift in consciousness. People are really hungry, and there's so much noise out there, but this platform really gives incredible clarity, incredible precision. And I just think that if you follow this path, you're going to get the answers that you've been searching for, because I've been doing this for a long time. And what I notice now is everything that is being said in this movement absolutely is measurable. It's backed up by science, and it totally makes sense. But science, real science, not this fake science that's being bought and paid for by corporations. And for me, it's just been one of those great experiences where I'm learning each and every day, and I am really enjoying the journey.
Justin, very good to have you. And Justin, what time is it there in Northern Ireland right now?
It's 11 minutes past 11.
Yeah. So Justin, thank you. You've been waiting since 4 p.m. We've had a pretty busy day here. So I apologize for that, but good to have you. So I think the key thing between what you heard Jason and Justin share, two J's, is the following. We really believe that there has to be congruency between what you say and what you do. This sounds like a very simple thing, but people have been manipulated to forgiving people because the standards have been lowered, and we don't think they should be lowered. If you want to be a leader, a noble leader, you have to provide people the highest values, right? You have to walk the walk. These people do not walk the walk. So having discussed that, and Jason went through his journey, a lot of people who actually stood up to the vaccine lost their jobs, right? People took a hit. Having said that, let's now use that as a launching point to show the contradictions of this fool, Booby F'n Kennedy. And that is a word we call him because that's what he is. He's a fucker. Now, why do I say that? And why do I use those words? Because this guy has bamboozled people into basically brainwashing them that you can have two different worlds. In fact, he said in an interview, when they started asking him about, so you can look at Megyn Kelly, when they started asking about the contradictions of a guy called Herschel Walker, who's a football player, who's running for office under the Republican, quote unquote, evangelical banner saying he's against abortion, yet he aborted 2 kids. And then the interviewer, Megyn Kelly, said, and your uncle had some really bad stuff, and then your father, and then you, right? And sorry, your uncle, Ted Kennedy, who killed a woman, Chappaquiddick. And he's like, he can't stay in his, he can't stay still. You see his body language. And his response to that is, well, personal integrity and public integrity are 2 different things. So he's telling you to your face that your personal integrity and your public integrity can be different. What does that mean? That means how you present yourself, you can be like a Stepford wife, and meanwhile you could be murdering people in the back room. And his family actually did that. Okay, he's telling you that I may have lots of skeletons, I may murder people, but you should just look at if I say good things. Just listen to my words from my demonic voice. So I think, Jason, going back to you, maybe you can share, your journey when you started really realizing what a bullshitter this guy was, his forked tongue. Go ahead, Jason.
Well, with Kennedy, I was never really into him. He was a Democrat. Never really paid all that much attention to him until I actually got involved with you and started learning about the vaccines. And then I saw what a hypocrite this guy was. Number one, he's acting like he's standing up for all these women who, have vaccine injured children. And meanwhile, first of all, he never wins. Second of all, he doesn't even believe what he's doing. He's had all 6 of his children vaccinated. He'll tell you that. He'll tell you he's not anti-vax. You might want him to be, but that's not what he'll tell you. If you ask him, he'll tell you, no, I'm not anti-vax. I had all 6 of my children vaccinated. I've heard it out of his own mouth. And that's just the tip of the iceberg as far as his hypocritical, he's just, number one, he's a Kennedy. So it goes without saying he's an elite. Anybody who wants to imagine that this guy is not an elite is out of their mind. He's a Kennedy. That's like royalty in this country. It's like you're going to tell me that Prince Andrew's not an elite, and he's got a lot in common with Prince Andrew because he was on the Lolita Express. So, this guy is, and now he's a warmonger. He flip-flops all the time. He's saying,
we'll come back to that, Jason. But
yeah,
I wanted you to give you the experience, some actual tangible facts. Go ahead, Justin. I know you have some, because you went through a journey. Jason really didn't like Kennedy. You actually had a different experience. Go ahead, Justin. You have to unmute yourself, Justin.
So one thing as well, I don't like to be critical of people, but when I see massive personal incongruency, I can't turn a blind eye to it. And at one stage, I actually thought that RFK was doing good stuff because he spoke about vaccines. He spoke about how they were harmful and how he was standing up for all these people. But then, just like what Jason said, he had all 6 of his children vaccinated. When he was having a party around the lockdown time, he made sure that nobody could enter his house unless they were all fully vaccinated. I mean, that is the ultimate hypocrisy. If you're either completely against vaccines or you're not, to say one thing and then to apply a different policy, that massive level of incongruency, I think, is completely unacceptable. And for me, just seeing lots of different things that he's done along the way, I mean, he is one of these masters of saying one thing and doing another. And he lacks total personal congruency. He was so pro lockdown. And to me, lockdowns was one of the things that actually were destroying people's health. And he supported all of that stuff. He was completely on board with it. And to me, you can't say one thing and then change policy because the tide has changed and ride that wave. And to me, he's one of these people that instead of saying what you need to say at the time, he waits, becomes fashionable to speak out, and then he will ride that wave later on saying, oh, well, it's so wrong. But to me, I just think the person, he's just not a congruent person, and I don't trust him. And I used to think he was a really decent guy until I actually saw the evidence.
What were some of those evidence items? Can you give a couple of pieces of actual evidence?
Just even the things that,
if you can, for the people listening, Justin, just give very tangible things, so people can't, it's not like your opinion anymore, but just the evidence.
Okay, so the evidence, even in the Daily Mail, I can't remember the lady's name, but where she said that, basically his wife committed suicide because he was having all these affairs where he's pumping himself full of steroids. He really makes himself out to be an advocate for health, but lots of the things that he does actually destroys health. His lockdown policy, I just think that was one of the worst things that you could ever support, but he was totally on board with it. And to me, how can you say one thing and then do something completely different? To me, it just reeks of hypocrisy.
Yeah. So let me just.
Can I say something real quick on Kennedy?
Yeah,
also, with the lockdowns, he even came out and said it was good for the environment. And now he's trying to flip-flop on the environment. He was this big Green New Deal guy, and now he sees that that's not getting it done, and he's trying to change his tune on that. But during the lockdowns, what did he say? Oh, this is great for the environment. Let's keep everybody locked down. He's a real piece of work.
So here's a Kennedy abuse victim right here that I want to bring up, Kawab Astra. And by the way, I've been to one of Kennedy's events. River Keepers events in Aspen, right? Where all the Hollywood people come. They have a big poker game. By the way, I won the poker game. We gave it to charity, whatever. But the point is, River Keeper was being run by somebody else. Okay? Kennedy swooped in. And one of the things that Kennedys do is they watch other people building movements, bottoms up movements, and they come in and hijack them, put it under the brand, and they actually snuff out most of those movements. But the bottom line is, if you're for River Keepers, which is against poisoning our waters, why would you support and endorse Hillary Clinton 3 times? So let me give you some tangible evidence, Kawab Astra. You may not even be real. You may be a troll, okay? And if you are, we're going to throw you off. The bottom line is, why did he support Hillary Clinton? Not once, not twice, three times. Now, why is Hillary Clinton important? She's pro-vaccine mandates. She's pro-GMOs. She's pro-Monsanto. And to be very clear, she brought one of the senior executives at Monsanto to help run her campaign. Monsanto has polluted more waters with glyphosate than anyone on the planet underwater. So all of this stuff that Kennedys do, run this nonprofit, run that, it's all for show, okay? That's what it's about. Now, if you want to be an abuse victim, like unfortunately this individual, then that's what you will be. But Kawab, if you're not a troll, he endorsed, not just liked her, endorsed her. Not once, not twice, but three times publicly in an editorial. Number one, okay? Yeah, so she says, I don't lie. Hillary's don't know about that. Well, see, you need to get educated then, because you're going to be enslaved. If you didn't know about him endorsing Hillary Clinton three times, ignorance is no, excuse when you've been told it. Number two, I'll give you another tangible thing. His nephew ran for senator here. Jason, you remember this, in Massachusetts. This is in the middle of 2020, in the middle of COVID. This guy wants to jab everyone. Joe Kennedy. He believes in total vaccine mandates. Kawakub, okay? He not only endorsed his nephew, flew him out to Hollywood, did a whole party for him to raise money for him. It's more than just an endorsement. You're getting him money, Hollywood money, to a man who wants to vaccinate everyone in the heat of COVID. Okay, number two. Number three, Justin, as you brought out, in his own home, people said, oh, that was 2016, that was 20. It was 2022. It's a year ago. Has a party at his home. And we have to understand there were many, many people who were breaking up with their spouses because they took a principled stand. I'm not going to get vaccinated. I'm not going to go to work. Oh, you better go to work. We got to vaccinate our kids. People are splitting apart. Many, many divorces. So Kennedy, now contrast that to the guy who's supposedly the fighter of the medical freedom movement. And you're looking at the real fighter here. We're the ones who held the demonstration. We'll talk about that. Kennedy has a huge posh party in his home in Malibu. And he forces everyone to be vaccinated coming into his home.
And then framed his wife for it.
Well, with which vaccine? Oh, well, he's never supported the COVID. With the mRNA vaccine, which he had done. Oh, yeah, this violates the Nuremberg Code. You see, big fucking talk to rile these people, rile up people. But in his own home, people have to be vaccinated. And then, Justin, he blames his wife, right? Yeah, so that means in his own home, you see, that's personal integrity. Doesn't mean public. In his own home, everyone's vaccinated. But outwardly, oh, yeah, I'm the big fighter. I'm the anti-vax. But he isn't. So let me play the video. So anyone after this call, if you still support Kennedy, you have to go check into a psychologist and find out what abuse you went through in your life and why you want to be abused. Seriously, because you're an abuse victim. So let me play this video so you're absolutely clear on this liar. Now, this is a video. It's a 10-minute video. In the beginning of the video, this is what he says.
Minister Farrakhan has asked me to address the issue of vaccines and African-American and vaccine safety. I want to start out by saying this, and I want to say it emphatically. I am pro-vaccine. I have always been fiercely pro-vaccine. I had all 6 of my children vaccinated, and I believe that we ought to have policies that encourage full vaccination for all Americans.
Let's play that again so people get this.
Mr. Farrakhan has asked me to address the issue of vaccines and African-American and vaccine safety. I want to start out by saying this, and I want to say it emphatically. I am pro-vaccine. I have always been fiercely pro-vaccine. I had all 6 of my children vaccinated, and I believe that we ought to have policies that encourage full vaccination for all Americans.
Okay, so the most important point there, I think, Justin and Jason, we should be very clear on that, is he said, I want policies that encourage full vaccination of all Americans. I want policies that encourage full vaccination of all Americans. I want policies that encourage full vaccination of all Americans. Policies that make sure that the government can vaccinate you. Now, if you continue that video, it's even worse. Then he goes on doing, like Justin, you said, his double talk. He says, oh, and the CDC and the government is so corrupt. They're corrupt this, they have lobbyists, they work with big pharma, da, 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 da. That's for another 8 minutes. And then he says, we're going to get them to create safe vaccines. So I vaccinated all my kids with 69 fucking vaccines. I want every American to be vaccinated, but the CDC is very corrupt. So all the stupid cult members, oh yeah, Bobby's hitting the CDC. Wow, look at him. He's such a great guy. He's my fighter, right? Bullshit. Then he says, I'm going to get this corrupt mafia organization to deliver you safe vaccines. This is like the guy's brain is fried, or he thinks you're a moron. So please understand that. And listen to the whole video. You can find it. And that video was released by Jake Crosby, who worked with Kennedy. And I have all the emails with him and Kennedy. Kennedy's telling him that his brain is fried to him in the videos. Kennedy's sharing with him that how he wants to be like Martin Luther King, who was a sellout, okay? And how Jake is like a radical, you know, like he's a revolutionary. He's telling you to your face, Justin, that he's a not so obvious establishment if you read these emails. And I'll share them with some of you privately. I may put them out. I may just share them with the world, okay? Because I have them. All right? Yeah, so this guy is telling you to your face. Now, if you look at the vaccine policy, this is a fundamental difference between this and not only on Israel or Zionism, not only on war. This guy actually believes government should be involved in your bodies. And he says that. This is very fundamental. He's not saying, like I have taken the policy, that the 1962 Kennedy Vaccination Act should be repealed. We should go back to the source. In 1962, the Kennedy Vaccination Act, as many of you have seen my videos, was created based on a bogus, archaic science that everyone should be jabbed and the government should be involved in that jabbing. So tens of thousands of people got put into bureaucracies to administer the jab to the individual, starting in 1962. As people were getting injured, now go to 1986, people are getting injured, people are filing lawsuits. His other brother, Ted fucking Kennedy, who murdered a woman right here in Massachusetts, got away with it, got to be senator, got books written about him, how great of a senator he is. Again, that PR machine. Ted Kennedy didn't rip off the Band-Aid of the 1962 Vaccination Act. He bolstered it. What did he do? He said he created the National Vaccine Injury Program, which basically said, okay, all these people who are filing lawsuits against Big Pharma made a phone call to him and he protected all of Big Pharma. He created the National Vaccine Injury Program, 1986, which said that if you want to sue Big Pharma, you can't sue them anymore. They get indemnity, like qualified immunity. Imagine that. If Toyota's wheels fall off, you can sue them. Imagine if every major corporation, you couldn't sue them. The light bulb falls on your head, you can't sue GE. So he did that for Big Pharma. Instead, and then they created a vaccine court. Unbelievable. They created a separate court, not in the judiciary, but under the executive. I mean, they're changing the whole Constitution. And that vaccine court limited liability to $250,000, done by Ted Kennedy to protect Big Pharma. And they expanded the bureaucracy to even more people, right? So more government, now administering vaccines, and then you got to go to government. You can't even sue the companies privately in civil court. More government. You guys get it? Bigger and bigger government. Booby fucking Kennedy's telling it to your face. I'm going to create even more government to create safe vaccines. So he's going to get this corrupt institution, which is the demons and the deep state. And he wants you to believe the deep state is going to create safe vaccines. Can you buy all this?
Not a chance. The other thing as well is with these vaccines, it's all the private companies make all the money, and then it's the public that have to actually suffer the expense of paying for the injuries, which is completely immoral.
Right. But the line here, in addition, is the Kennedys. Mm-hmm. John Kennedy, 1962 Vaccination Act, which created the big pharma industry for vaccines. Ted Kennedy, another Kennedy, protects the vaccines. Robert Kennedy's a big pharma shill. He wants to further protect them by just tweaking this complex deep state that they're going to somehow produce safe vaccines. The issue is this. Please listen very carefully. Why is the government even involved in your body? Why is any of this even taking place? I'm not a purist. I'm just going back to the Constitution. The government should not be involved in what goes into my body, period. The 1962 Vaccination Act must be repealed. You see how clean that is? Instead, what Kennedy did was he got all the mothers riled up. Give me money. I'm going to do lawsuits. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. It's like fake fighting, shadow boxing.
In a so-called free country, in a so-called free country, the government's going to tell you what medicines you can take, or you have to take. Think about that. That's crazy.
Exactly. But the Kennedys created the 1962 Vaccination Act. Ted Kennedy supported it, and Robert Kennedy's doing it. Just another, it's like episode 1 on Netflix, episode 2, and episode 3. Episode 3 is even more clever. I'm going to get
look at the way he's doing it. He's the fake fighter doing it now. Look at the way they're rolling it out,
Right.
I mean,
so we need
they know the way they have to do it now, and that's what they're doing. So wake up out there.
Right. So I wanted to show you that evidence that's out of his own mouth. And you may say, well, he said it back then. Well, he said it like that was 2015. And then in 2016, he endorsed Hillary. Then in 2020, he endorsed his nephew. Who won. And then in 2022, you had to be jabbed in his home. Okay? So if you want to believe that he's a nice guy, all right? Okay, so Quawab, who was supporting him, now saying, talk with him live. I love your integrity. Well, let me tell you, I tried to talk to him. We invited him to a debate. I started exposing him. Try to meet with him. He didn't want to even shake my hand if you look at the angle of the camera. And when I started exposing him, he, as in the classic Kennedy style, when you get them by the throat, they smear you. He said, I'm a vaccine maker. He said, I'm friends with Bill Clinton. He said, I am friends with Bill Gates. I mean, he wrote a blog, complete defamation. Now, if any of those things were true, I wouldn't have sued him, but I sued him in federal court for $92 million. The guy, like a little rat, kept running around when sheriffs would try to get him to serve. And also Mercola's girlfriend, another douchebag. They couldn't get the service. Finally, he was served, and he defaults. My own lawyer sold me out. Turns out my lawyer was a Kennedy lover, and he didn't serve him but the right way, so we're resurrecting that case now. Do you understand? Massachusetts is Kennedy country. I'm in the swamp here, and even being in here, I still expose the Kennedys. What year was that? That was this 2020, Kawakeb. 2015 was that. So anyway, Kawakeb, please go see an abuse victim specialist, because if you're ignoring him after all the facts, I'm going to really, unless you commit that you're going to go get some help, you're off, okay? Because there's something wrong with you. Seriously.
The last thing this guy wants to do is talk to Dr.SHIVA, unfortunately. You know what I mean? Because what's Dr.SHIVA going to do? He's going to tell the truth. And he does not want the truth to come out. You got to understand that.
Everyone here right now, share this video. Everyone go ask Kennedy if he'll debate me, okay? Go do it, all right? So that is what I recommend people do if you want, and we'll all debate him, okay? So those are the facts on Kennedy. Now, we've been exposing this, and by the way, on the lockdowns, let me share with you. Jason reminded me here, Justin. So here is his actual... here we go. So this is his actual tweet he did, which he doesn't want anyone else to know, okay? March 2020, okay? What do you see here, okay? And what you see here at a fundamental level, he's saying, let's go down. He's saying right here, we go a little bit. Coronavirus lockdown. And he's writing this March of 2020 when I was leading protests against the lockdowns, hasn't just slowed COVID, which means fully behind it. It reduced lethal air pollution and associated mortality. When lockdown lifts, risks of status quo will return, which means he's scaring people. Oh my God, it will return and could worsen as governments weaken environmental regulations and pour billions into these polluting industries. So simply put, right in front of your face, right in your face, he's telling you that he supports lockdowns, that he loves lockdowns for two reasons. One, it'll stop the spread of COVID. Don't lift them, it'll spread it. And it's going to save the environment. Okay. In March of 2020, I had led by then 2-3 major protests. Jason, you remember, right in front of the State House, 2,000 people showed up. Okay. No lockdown.
Absolutely.
We wrote to Trump, no lockdowns. We helped people. That's what Kennedy was doing. So lockdowns, he was behind them. He was behind vaccinating people in his own home. He's telling people that he wants safe vaccines by the big pharma, CDC, government corruption. Multiple tongues. Any other thing, Justin, you and Jason want to add on Kennedy's hypocrisy before we go to the Zionism? Yep.
One thing that really stands out for me is if you're totally against vaccines and you're against people that have been vaccine injured, the first thing you think he would be saying is, if I'm running for president, I'm going to repeal the immunity from the vaccine companies. But to me, he has been silent on that. That to me is very glaring. To me, if you are against something, do the right thing for the right reasons when it matters. And to me, that would be the first thing that I think he should base his campaign on, if he is truly the person he is. But he's not. He says one thing and he does something completely different.
Yeah, and just on that point, like Dr. Shiva was saying, what were we doing in March of 2020? What was Dr. Shiva doing? What was the Truth, Freedom, and Health movement doing? You know, we were definitely not for lockdowns. We were against lockdowns, and we saw that the jab was coming, and we were speaking about that. But we also did the Fire Fauci campaign. We saw right through Fire Fauci, and the next month, Dr. Shiva was telling Trump to open the country up. And this is what you do for COVID. You get people on vitamin A, you get people on vitamin C, you get people taking vitamin D3, and, you know, open the country back up. And Trump, if he would have listened to us, you know, but he didn't listen either. So I just doing the right thing at the right time. That's Dr. Shiva. That's Truth, Freedom, and Health. So that's a good point, Justin.
Yeah. And let me just share this other piece here. To what you just followed up with, Jason. Here's another piece of evidence, okay? Talking about personal integrity. Kennedy had a diary, okay, which listed all of his women conquests while he was married to his wife. His wife finds the diary, is so distraught, tells him she wants to kill herself, and is conveyed in the article by Maureen Callahan. He basically said, okay. And his wife hangs himself. So let me show you this article that came out. And by the way, it's fascinating. The Daily Mail actually does some good articles. But it's funny, in mainstream media, none of these people have the decency to ever bring this up. Let me actually go back here. So this is Kennedy over the grave of his wife. And actually, they had all the public relations people take this photo. It's like your typical Kennedy photo. They always get the photographers at the right place. They're very good at getting the photographers at the right place at the right time. This is a perfect photo. You know, they took this. They had probably 100 shots. This was chosen by him, and this was released to the press. Well, after they buried her, literally a few days later, what they did was they exhumed her body, okay, and buried it elsewhere. Let me show you that. So they do this big burial for the press to act as though he cared for his wife. And he goes, not 2 months later. We go here. It's a little slow here. So it goes not 2 months later. Where is this? Oh, here we go. Yeah, not 2 months later, without the required permits, Kennedy secretly had Mary's body from her grave, exhumed from her grave and buried alone on the other side of the cemetery, no gravestone. Okay, that's what he did. So he buries his wife for the public, then exhumes the body, takes all the pictures so people think, oh, what a loving husband. Wow, he suffered such a big loss. And after doing this, he exhumes her body and puts it elsewhere with no gravestone. Just think about that. Think about the quality of this kind of human being who would do that to a woman who, you know, births him all these children. I want you to just think about that. And if you're a woman and you think this guy is what you want in a leader and you want your daughter to support someone like this, what kind of woman are you? Yes, it has to be very personal, people. So you're talking about a person who has multiple tongues in summary. Jason's given you examples. Justin's given you examples. And I've given you examples. So they move, and in his personal life, right? And you can go look at his whole personal life, spitting in cops' faces, getting thrown out of school. Parents get him into Harvard. And we're all supposed to think this is, oh, wow, he had such a hard life. We should all feel good for him or sad for him. Okay? Yeah. Okay. Michelle, can you say goodbye to him? Okay. So we're having some work done here. So now let us now go and talk about warmongering, Zionism, racism. Okay. I did a tweet a couple of weeks ago, and I'm very, very clear on this. Zionism is racism in the service of imperialism / globalism. I'll repeat that again. Zionism is racism in the service of imperialism. In 24 hours ago, Booby Kennedy, actually less than 20, he went and supported this ultra freaking Zionist hoodlum, Shumli Boreach, who's a nut job, because Kennedy needs the Zionist warmongering lobby to fund his campaign. And when this happened, all the liberals, you know, who are on both eggs. By the way, we were talking about this, right? The mentality of a lot of people is, well, you know, Bobby is, you know, yeah, I agree with him, but he says so many good things, you know, I got to support him. Dr. Shiva, you're running as an independent, but I know you're better, but you know, who's going to win? This very, very, very disrespectful to your own self state of being. So Kennedy openly, and I'll play you the video, endorses, supports this fool who's a Zionist hoodlum, racist, Maximus, in order, as all these presidential candidates do, to bow down to the Zionist lobby. And I've been fighting Zionism since I came to Massachusetts in 17 years old. We had 2 major protests in Brandeis, okay? Zionism is different than Judaism. Let's be clear on that. I went to a predominantly all Jewish school. My friends were really nice kids. But in the summer times, their parents would send them to Israel. I mean, like a 14-year-old kid. Very nice kid. He'd come back within 3 weeks in Israel wanting to kill every Arab. I mean, rabid, foaming at the mouth. It was like they went to an indoctrination camp. So a Jewish kid who practices Judaism gets sent to this geographical area called Israel, comes back a crazy Zionist wanting to annihilate every Arab. Saw it in front of my own eyes over and over and over. It's like, and the kid is completely different. He's no longer the friend I knew. He's a completely different being. All right. One of my guys that I knew at MIT, he went to Israel, and he actually, because he was rebellious with his own parents, he goes, this is a freaking police state. And he didn't accept it. Very rare, though. So we need to understand that Zionism is racism in the service of imperialism. And I encourage everyone to go check out everything I'm saying. Go do your own research. If you go back to the 1800s in Europe, like in America, most of the Jews in Europe were Europeans. They'd been there 300 years. No different than if the blacks in America had been here 300 years. They're here, right? They're on the soil. They're here in America. And what ended up happening was, if you look at these very interesting things, there's a movement called cultural nationalism. Let me explain that. It's very different than progressive nationalism. It's a very deep, and I'm going to explain it. It's a deep concept in political theory. Progressive nationalism is, let's say, Jason, you, I, Justin, we're all Irish, and we're subjugated by the British for years, right? And we want freedom from Britain's yoke of colonialism. And we fight for our freedom. That's sort of a progressive nationalism. You get it? A cultural nationalism would be say, you know what? We got to go back to the good old days of Ireland where men were men and we could do whatever the hell we wanted. And we had, you know what I mean? It's this going backward type of nationalism, right? Progressive nationalism, cultural nationalism. So in this time, if you go look at the 1800s, there was discrimination amongst certain strata of the Jews. And there was a discourse. What should we do? And remember, there was a whole set of Jews who were working class Jews. And there was this other strata of very wealthy Jews. And a guy called Theodor Herzl, Herzl, said, you know what? Forget Europe. We got to go back to our homeland. Very similar to Marcus Garvey, the black leader who said, forget America. America has let us down. We must go back to Africa. Well, and there were other black leaders saying, you're an idiot. We built this country. We're going to stay here and fight. Okay? One is cultural nationalism. One is, hey, we're the ones who built all these buildings. We deserve our rights, right? We don't know Africa. We haven't been there for 300 years. So that was a notion that the Jews would leave Europe and find a homeland. In fact, the first choice was Uganda. They had many choices. Argentina. In fact, one choice was Southwest United States, Texas. And you can go study this. Right, back to Liberia, exactly. And Liberia was a disaster, exactly. I have a friend of mine, I went to school at MIT. His father's family went back to Liberia as part of the Marcus Garvey, and Liberia became a shithole of corruption. It was a disaster. Cultural nationalism never really works. So anyway, Zionism was a political ideology. It has nothing to do with Judaism. Okay? They dug up some 4,000-year-old reference, right, saying we need to go back here. That would be like the Vikings saying we need to go back to Vermont because we were there. And Jason, get the hell out of here. Okay? 4,000 years have passed by. I'm sorry. Okay? Time does make a difference. So Herzl was a political ideology. Why do I call it racism? He went to Cecil Rhodes, and that's where he got funding. Cecil Rhodes was one of the worst human beings on the planet. The Rhodes Scholarship. He's the one who started World War I. He's the one who funded Rhodesia and enslaved millions and millions and millions of black people in the diamond mines. Okay? So Zionism got its money from Cecil Rhodes and a bunch of other scumbags. Zionism is a political ideology. This is not Judaism. It was a hijacking of Judaism. Let's be clear on that. And the first point was Uganda. Well, the British, remember the British are all about divide and rule. They always want to start fights. So they go find, they said, okay, we're going to put you over here in a place called Palestine. Okay? And we're going to put you in Palestine. And by the way, there were Arabs living there. In fact, Arab Jews. Remember, a lot of Americans don't know the difference between race and religion. Arabs are a race. Judaism is a religion. Okay? So there's quite a number of Arabs living there. And many of them were Jews. And there's a whole research that's been done on this. They were the Jews going back to the Jews of Jesus Christ. And then the British literally import these European whites who also follow Judaism into there, but they're Zionists. And they just start taking over their land. And in fact, a lot of Arab Jews became Arab Muslims, today's Palestinians. Okay? That's what took place. So now you have this importing of a foreign set of people coming into these people's, 99% were Arabs. And they would do these crazy propaganda videos. They'd say, look, it's absolutely desert. And we Zionists are the ones who converted to beautiful wines. And there's a very interesting movie that was done where they accidentally panned and there were actually already beautiful olive groves and trees there. They tried to do this thing like these people came and made these primitive Arabs, they civilize them. False. So a lot of propaganda. Now, Remember, Britain is divide and rule. Britain went into Africa, if you remember. The African tribes, they had their own very beautiful areas, their regions, right? Britain went there and created random nation states. And why did they do that? They want people fighting. And then once you get people fighting over here, you take one guy's side and you steal his emeralds. Over here, you take another guy's side and you steal his titanium. And that is a British policy of divide and rule. They did it in India. You go in and randomly draw lines. And that's what they did in this region of Palestine. They brought people in, created a hellhole of a fight. And that's what they did. So British colonialism is the one that created the Israeli Palestinian conflict. Okay? Britain did that all over Africa. They had Zulus fighting against another tribe, right? Meanwhile, they would steal all their resources. It's British domination, divide and rule policy. So that's what occurred. But Zionism is racism in the service of imperialism. It believes that the Zionists are the chosen people of God. And you and I are all shit. And for me, coming from a caste system, you know what? If you believe that, you're a fucking racist. And if you call me an anti-Semite, I'm going to call you a fucking racist. Because I probably have Semitic blood in me. Okay? And you may not. But Arabs and Israelis are both Semitic people. So let's get that clear. So you're not going to get away with that. But Zionism is racism, period. Theodore Herzl's political ideology was racist. Let me give you another data point. You can do your own research. In the Warsaw Ghetto in Poland, Jews were fighting the Nazis. In street battles, the Zionists disarmed them. They collaborated with the Nazis, and they disarmed the Jews. Go study it. Zionism, Judaism, Nazism, okay? Zionism is closer to Nazism than Judaism is to any of those. So, Robert Kennedy, who wants to be everywhere because he wants to bullshit everyone. Oh, people are attacking Bobby for being anti-Semitic. Bobby is as Zionist as you can get. And so let me show you this tweet. So one of these liberals, by the way, liberals always like to play both games, but Booby just endorsed a fucking Zionist racist hoodlum. And now even all these people are supporting Booby are saying, ooh, what do we do? And let me show you that tweet, okay? Let me go over to it. So this was a tweet done by a guy called Max Blumenthal. And let me go to my Twitter page because I saw this. And so Blumenthal sees this Booby Kennedy endorsing this guy, Shmuel Boreach, who's a nut job. And Blumenthal puts out a tweet saying, oh my God, I can't believe this is happening. I can't believe that Booby, as a man of peace, is now supporting this crazy Zionist. So let me show this to you. So remember what I'm saying. Blumenthal is acting like, oh my God, he's shocked. Justin, you, me, Jason, we just talked. We're not shocked, right? We knew this was going to do something. But these people are shocked. They think Booby is against censorship. They think Booby is a man of peace. It's all bullshit. So, but let me bring this up here. So this morning I saw this tweet, and that's why I wanted to do this conversation with you guys today. Because I think it's very, very important to understand the difference between me and Booby fucking Kennedy. So Max Blumenthal does this tweet. He goes, watch Robert Kennedy demolish his credibility. He had no credibility, but he thinks he has, as a peace candidate in 4.5 minutes. Okay? And I'll go into this. So I wrote, Max Blumenthal, why so shocked by Booby F'n Kennedy's support of a Zionist hoodlum? He and his clan, I'm talking about Booby, are and will always be warmongers and Zionist racists who need endless wars in Israel and Palestine to profit the war machine. I've fought them my whole life. All right? And let me play this video. Actually, you guys should go listen to this video, but should I play this video? What do you guys think? It's 4 minutes, so should we just talk about it? What do you guys think? Jason, Justin?
I think you should play it because it gives a very clear, other point of reference.
Yeah. So let me play this video, and then I'm going to show you, even if you don't want to believe me, this is a former Kennedy supporter, Blumenthal, who thought, oh, Kennedy's for peace, and how dare he support this nut job, okay? So let me play this video. So let's go back here. And I'm going to play you this video. Okay, here we go.
We're going to let him speak. Whether I don't agree with Bobby on the vaccines, I'm quintuple vaxxed. I don't agree with Bobby on Ukraine. I am. And by the way, if I pop off in the middle of the speech, then you guys will know I shouldn't have had them. And if I make it to the end, who knows? But we don't have to agree because that's the whole point.
Israel, as you know, is the only place in the Mideast where there's freedom of expression for all citizens. It's the only place where women have rights. As you know, this week, people in Iran are being jailed. Women are being jailed for wearing hijabs, or not wearing hijabs. It's the only place where gays have rights. There was 2 weeks ago a gay pride parade in Israel with 150,000 people in both Tel Aviv and Jerusalem. At the same time, the government of Iran is hanging gays from cherry pickers and castrating them. The conduct of the IDF, the Israeli Defense Forces, when they go into Palestinian territories is beyond anything in the world. Colonel Camp, one of the leading military historians and tacticians around the world, said, last week, 2 weeks ago, when Israel went to Jenin, Jenin is a bomb factory. Most nations, Russia, when it was dealing with issues like Jenin and Chechnya, simply bombed the neighborhood, because you have a neighborhood where virtually 100% of the people who live there are supporting terrorism, where the terrorists are hiding behind civilians, and where everybody is involved in bomb making. And those bombs are destined to kill civilians, to be strapped on men, women, and children, and kill civilians in Israel. Most nations, and we've done this ourselves, and clearly Russia was doing it in Chechnya. Chechnya would go in there and bomb that neighborhood. What the Israeli IDF does is they send people to do retail combat, door to door, putting IDF soldiers at risk in order to avoid civilian casualties, collateral casualties. In the recent Jenin attack, there was 12 terrorists who were killed, all of them involved in bomb making, all of them involved in planning attacks on Jewish civilians, and not a single innocent person, child or civilian. Israel is unique in the Mideast for saying we're only going to attack military targets, and they're very, very disciplined about doing so. Palestine, the Palestinian Authority, in contrast, follows a long tradition of deliberately targeting civilians. So anybody, and not only that, but they have a pay-to-slay policy. That is the official policy of the Palestinian Authority. If you kill a Jew, not a member of the IDF, if you kill any Jew, you are going to get awarded with pay for life. And if you go to jail or you're killed, your family will get payments for life. And the official policy of Hamas is the genocide of all the Jews. So they consider, and this, by the way, in 1948, when Israel was attacked at its birth, the plans were captured of Syria and Egypt and the other nations, and their plan was complete extermination of the Jews. They took the side of Hitler during World War II. They lost the war, and the practice and the policy of all those nations is to kill individual civilians. whereas Israel does the opposite. It only attacks military targets.
So there's a lot to unpack here, okay? But if you listen to this, what Kennedy did was worse propaganda than even the biggest Israeli lobbyists have been doing. I mean, this is like going back to like freaking like pure Zionist hoodlum propaganda. And if you don't want to accept it from me, let me read you this liberal elite, sympathizer, former sympathizer, Kennedy's own quote. Okay, let's go to that. So I'm going to read you. This is, Max Blumenthal's own analysis. So if we go here and I go show more, let's read what he's got to say. Okay. He says, watch Robert Kennedy Jr. demolish his credibility as a peace candidate in 4.5 minutes. I want to unpack each sentence because this shows you how a lot of people follow Kennedy get suckered in. So Blumenthal thought Kennedy was a peace candidate, but any of us who know the Kennedys and him know he's always been a candidate for war. Robert Kennedy was saying we are in Ukraine for all the right reasons. He was praising his son going there. Okay. He supported Hillary Clinton, Robert Kennedy, who did regime change in Ukraine. Robert Kennedy supported Hillary Clinton, who ousted and killed, had Muammar Gaddafi killed. That's who Robert Kennedy endorsed. He is supportive of regime change. He is an imperialist like his entire family. So that's the first thing. So Blumenthal is a fucking idiot, but we'll take even out of sometimes the idiot's mouth comes some truth. He said a campaign that began as a defiant broadside against the war state and censorship industrial complex, which is also not true because Kennedy supports Elon Musk, who has fully maintained the censorship industrial complex, has suddenly pivoted to a bellicose, which means warlike exercise, and pandering to rich Likudniks who seek war with Iran. He's talking about this guy, Shmuley Boteach, the permanent violent warehousing of Palestinians, and the criminalization of activism that challenges Israeli apartheid. RFK Jr.'s host, Shmuley Boteach, a professional race hustler, an alleged financial fraudster, and listen to this, who owes the existence of his one-man political operation to the fortune of Sheldon Adelson, the late ultra-Zionist oligarch who called for dropping a nuclear weapon on Iran. And I'll come back to this. Everyone, if you don't know who Sheldon Adelson, I found a lot of people don't know who Sheldon Adelson is. If you want to be president of the United States in their Democratic, you have to go suck off Sheldon Adelson. Trump sucked him off. Biden sucked him off. Everyone sucks him off. Sheldon Adelson is as Zionist hoodlumish as you can get, multi-billionaire. But please write down Sheldon Adelson's name. He's the one who actually stamps the approval of who next becomes a president. Sheldon Adelson, or the Zionist, ultra-Zionist lobby. All right? So Sheldon Adelson had to be, and Shmuley Boteach is like this with Sheldon Adelson. So when you support Shmuley Boteach, what are you doing? You're sending a signal to the Zionist lobby, I'm here. I will take care of you. Give me money. Okay? That's what this is about. So please understand that. Sheldon Adelson, yeah. Someone said Trump really sucked him off too. Exactly. Okay? Definitely. Trump's entire background. By the way, you don't have to be Jewish to be Zionist. This is the other thing. Judaism and Zionism are two different things. So then he goes, if RFK was not handed a massive wad of Benjamin's money to suck up to Shmuley, he was embarrassing himself for free because he was clearly out of his depth. During a rambling militaristic diatribe, he referred to hijabs as habibs. Okay, so this is a level of anti-Arab hatred he has, Hijabs as habibs, pronounced Chechnya as though he hadn't heard of the place until 20 minutes before the event, and offered a history of Israel's creation so cartoonishly propagandistic, it made Alan Dershowitz, who's another Zionist, look like Ilan Pappé. RFK Jr. took it upon himself, or was taken on, to defend the Israeli army's brigade-sized invasion of Jenin. If you guys should study this, what happened. I mean, the Israeli Defense Forces was pure like freaking Nazism. the invasion of Jenin, during which it bombed buildings with fighter jets and ran bulldozers through the middle of a refugee camp. Kennedy, which he says he referred to the entire city as a, quote, a bomb factory, end quote, justifying the invasion because, in his words, quote, virtually 100%, 100%, that means every person. Imagine in your town, every person, he's saying, 100% of the people there are supporting terrorism, end quote. According to RFK, quote, everybody in Jenin is involved in bomb making. There are no civilians there at all. Therefore, all are legitimate targets. He, RFK, did not seem to know the Palestinian campaign of suicide bombing ended well over 15 years ago, or that the Palestinian Authority, by the way, when we say Palestinian Authority, we're talking about the government in Palestine, which, by the way, is a sellout to the Israelis. They don't really help the Palestinians. They actually manage the occupation. So he goes, or the Palestinian Authority is legally forbidden from defending Palestinians from Israeli violence. Its primary function is to act as an occupation subcontractor. You see, the so-called government functionaries of Palestine can't even protect the Palestinian people from Israel. According to RFK Jr., the Palestinian Authority has an official, quote unquote, pay to slay policy, in which, quote unquote, if you kill any Jew, you're going to be awarded the pay for life. Even professional AIPAC, that's the Israeli lobbyists, shy away from this kind of baseless invective. So Kennedy's just spewing messaging because he needs to get the funding and the support of the most crazy Zionists. The half-baked Hasbara escalated from there as RFK Jr. cited Richard Kemp, a former British Army officer who subsists on Israeli lobby speaking fees, to claim, quote, the conduct of the IDF, the Israeli Defense Force, when they go into Palestine is beyond anything in the world. So he's saying the IDF is like an amazing organization. When anyone you talk to, they consider them nuts. While Israeli army commanders openly adhere to Dahiya doctrine, named for the Beirut neighborhood Israel leveled in 2006. By the way, when this occurred, I ran one of the biggest protests here in Massachusetts, and which calls for targeting Arab civilians in order to turn them against their leadership. RFK Jr. insisted that Israelis' policy is to, quote, avoid civilian casualties. It exclusively attacks military targets. And even this guy, who's a RFK fan, now is recognizing it's hard to believe RFK Jr.'s ahistorical, which means bullshit, belligerent line on Israel-Palestine was not bought and paid for by some pro-Israel billionaire, which means he's just as corruptible as any Democrat or GOP hack. But if he actually believes what he's saying, he's at least as pro-war as they are. All right. So I know that was a lot of stuff I just shared with you guys, okay? But understand, you know, when we at Truth, Freedom, and Health unpack something for you, we really unpack it. So to summarize, Kennedy is a Zionist racist. He's pro-war imperialist. Why do I say that? You see, the British colonialism created the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. They made a lot of money, a lot of value they got of it. Now, American imperialism, U.S. imperialism, not us American people. Most American people don't want this. Fund this to continue this conflict because it makes cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching money for the war machine. And that is what Kennedy needs money from, the war machine. He's signaling the war machine. I'm one of your guys. But to all of us who studied Kennedys, Jason, you said he's a Kennedy. He's royalty. The Kennedys have always been like this. Now, I want to play 2 more videos showing to you from their own mouths. Actually, one video, one actually statement from Robert F. Kennedy, the father of Booby, who will tell you they're warmongers. I want to take a quick break. Before I do that, because I want to make sure all of you guys listening to this, you have to understand how much research we do here, how much information, that I want all you guys to support what we're doing, support our fight for Truth, Freedom, Health. But before I go to the very quick 5-minute break, Jason, any thoughts? And then we go to Justin on what I just shared here. Focus on what I just shared here with this.
Well, yeah, on that video, I did have a couple comments. Number one, like Dr. Shiva said, it doesn't surprise us because, you know, we know him as a liberal elite, and all these liberal elites are Zionists. And please don't get confused, Zionists with Jew. To me, that's what they want. And if you watch that video and, you know, you love Robert F. Kennedy and you just believe every word that's coming out of his mouth, it sounds pretty good, right? I mean, they're not doing anything wrong. They're all, there's no civilians there. They're all bomb makers. So we can just go door to door and kill them all. I mean, that's basically what he's saying.
And he's a man of peace.
But he's a man of peace, right? He's fighting a good fight.
Anti-war booby.
Nothing changes with these guys. It's the war machine, and that's what these Zionists are. So please don't get that confused with Judaism. Nobody's an anti-Semitic here. I'm a Christian. Jesus was a Jew. I got no problem with Jewish people. And that's exactly what the elites want, the liberal elites. To me, I compare it to like, okay, well, if you're against the Ukrainian war, not only are you for Russia, but you love Putin. You just love Putin because you're against war. No, maybe I just like peace. Maybe I just don't want you spending all my tax money in Ukraine. Maybe I care about the Russian working people just like I care about the Ukrainian working people. And I think both of these governments are probably corrupt. And you know what I mean? But the way they do that, if you go that way, you're doing exactly what they want you to do. They're against Zionism. They're against this. All these global elites are Zionists. So if you're for Zionism, who are you supporting? That's
Great.
all I wanted to say, Dr.
Thanks, Jason. Go ahead, Justin. Thoughts right before we're going to go for a quick break, but we have two very important, one video and one very important fact that after I share this with you, no one here should have any issues that the Kennedys are as warmongering as you can get. Okay, among the other bullshit. Go ahead, Justin.
Yeah. So the main thing that I really noticed about him speaking there, he was just reciting a script. He had no idea what he was even talking about. And you can see where his campaign fund is coming from. He's willing to bend over and kneel down to get his money. And to me, he just said the right things. And he's showing you who he's working for by that demonstration. To me, it was just so embarrassing. And especially, like, he's talking about freedom in Israel. Sure, it was the most forced vaccinated country in the world. And like they enforced brutal regimes upon people who didn't get vaccinated. To me, that would be like, to me, that should be hell for him, not a place that he wants to go and worship. So to me, another classic example of total personal incongruency.
Yeah, one of the things, Justin, you just reminded me, during the lockdowns, Israel started creating this very big database of every one of their citizens, a genetic database. And Jared Kushner was behind that. Okay. Mm-hmm. And the CEO of Pfizer, Albert Bourla, I think that's Bourla, was given the Lifetime Achievement Award by Israel. Okay. So Israel, Pfizer, COVID, Jared Kushner, Trump, all one big clusterfuck. Okay. Of the swarm. And you cannot forget this. And so
he was
supporting.
The president Netanyahu, I think he was boasting about how it fast-tracked a deal with the CEO of Pfizer and how they were in bed with each other and how they were going to share the data to make this such a revolutionary way to move things forward. To me, it was just like total cabal, total swarm, total semantics where they completely enslaved all of their society at the most like abusive way you could ever imagine.
Right. So what I'd like to do is, Justin and Jason, we want to, first of all, thank both of you. We're going to do a little video. We're going to come back. But what can you do? The bottom line is we are the only movement on the planet in humanity now which educates people on a systems approach to going beyond left and right, beyond the obvious establishment, but recognizing the real snake, the not so obvious establishment. Booby Kennedy's becoming such the obvious establishment now that I don't even know if he's an NSOE anymore, right? But there are a lot of people who he suckers in using the Kennedy name, right? Talking the talk, but never walking the walk. And I hope what we've shared in this first part makes it amply clear to anyone, this guy is a pure demon. Someone just said, Dr. Shiva, can you share with people why your analysis of his voice? Look, in ancient systems of yoga, you have different chakras, energy centers in your body. Your crown chakra connects you to your highest thoughts. The third eye opens up, reveals many, many important ideas to you, right? Truth. The throat chakra is where it is in between your higher level thoughts, truth, and your actions, right? Your arms, the chakras below. What's fascinating is when someone has like him, this throat issue, it's indicative of the facts that their thoughts do not match their deeds. So just think about that, right? As you consider this. But those of you who are here, recognize that I am running for president. We have amazing, very, very enlightened group of people like Jason and Justin all over the world who are getting this, who do not want to choose the lesser of two evils, who are done with that. The lesser of two evils is the thing that's all about you lowering your standards and accepting, well, they want to depopulate me. It's okay. Okay, the life expectancy in the United States is going like this. Yeah, my children are going to be living less than me. I'm going to accept that. Okay, I accept everything. And that's what the lesser of two evils wants you to do. But you have a choice now for the first time in U.S. history in a long time. You have someone like me running. We have an amazing movement. And we've made it. We've worked very hard at this. For me, it's been 50 years. For many of our people, a lot of hard work to create an environment where you can get educated and not be enslaved, to teach you the science of systems, to give you other community of incredible people so you don't feel alone, and then to give you the science of doing this. So I want to play this quick video. You can think about it as a quick break, but it's more than a break. It'll inspire you.
One last thing. Can I say one last thing? The thing is, like, we never knew the nature of the trap we were in until now we can see what's going on. And there's nobody coming to rescue us. We must participate in our own rescue. We must step up. We must get together and we must organize. This is our last chance in history. Once they build those digital prisons and their digital ID passports and all that CBDC money, the game's over. This is our last chance. And you have to speak up now. You have to make noise. You have to get together and you have to organize. We have to do it. And if we don't do it now, we're going to miss this opportunity and we're going to be enslaved forever.
Right. Yeah, look, that's important. But the thing is, it has to be done the right way. There have always been moments like this urgency, Justin. But the important thing is there's a double-edged sword. They get you urgent and then they say, but let's just vote for Kennedy. It's not just about making any noise. It's about doing it in a systematic way where we have to build a movement. So there are people who'll say, oh my God, they're going to do this. They're going to blow up the world. Let's vote for Trump. So we have to be careful here. They may blow up Trump. They may do all these oppressive things, but we have to build the movement with the right foundation, with the right, framework. Jason?
Yeah, I just want to follow up on what Justin said and what you said. The education is so important because the obvious establishment and the not so obvious establishment are very smart and they're very good at making people look crazy, look like, terrorists. If they can get away with it, they'll call you a terrorist. So the education piece is key. And that's what Truth, Freedom, and Health offers that nobody else does. We got to be smart about it. We have to make noise. You're absolutely right, Justin. The people, it's up to us. Nobody's coming to save us. You're 100% right about that. But we got to do it right, and we got to be smart about it. And that's what Truth, Freedom, and Health offers that no other movement offers. You will understand systems. You will have clarity. You will see clearly, and that's the only way it's going to be done right. And I don't know how many more chances we have, whether this is our last chance or not.
Well,
but it's got to be done right.
Okay, let's assume
it's about education. And
you may have 100 different chances. You may have 1,000. Okay, it could go on. Let's just be very pragmatic here. We could keep bumbling around for another 1,000 years and be in darkness. You really could. The issue is every day that goes by, you don't understand the dynamics, what we call the system dynamics of oppression. You will keep making mistakes and eventually you get learned helplessness. So I want to be very precise here. It's not about making noise. It's not about doing something. It's about doing the right thing at the right time. If you want to shatter a glass with this, you have to hit the right note with the right resonant frequency to move things. Okay. It can't be too high, too low. You go to play golf, you have to hit the ball just right. 2 degrees off, the ball goes elsewhere. And there's a physics. There's a science. If you want to build an airplane, there's a science. You can try jumping off. You can try. Maybe you'll get lucky, Jason, and one day you'll take flight. Oh, I did it. But you won't be able to do it again. So the opportunity we have is the fact that people are recognizing something's wrong, but it does not mean that we're going to win. There have been many moments like this in history where people have lost because the elites understand the science of systems. They really do. And they can be 2 steps ahead. They'll have Kennedy saying this to sucker you back in. Tomorrow, he may say, well, you know what I really meant with Shmuel Boreach, his PR guy, okay, you need to do some damage. Oh, this is what I really meant. Oh, okay, I get it, Bobby. Okay, we all misunderstood him. Let's go back, okay? They have all sorts of games. The only way out of this, number one, you have to understand, just like there's a physics to building a transistor. There's a physics to fixing your plumbing. There is a physics to building a movement. And without that, we shouldn't be just running around. You can run around, do stuff, but I'm telling you, 9 out of 9.1 chances you're going to fail. And that's what's been happening. So all these people, I got this movement. Well, have you done the physics? Do you understand how to build it? No. So how are you going to succeed? I don't know. I'm just going to throw myself off a cliff. I'm going to flap my wings, and I think I may get off the ground. It doesn't work that way. So let me play this video, but it's a very, very important thing to understand. It's the right kind of action. Because if we do that right, you shrink the amount of time. And, you know, the longer you continue things and do stupid things to think you're going to change the world, you're going to have more and more suffering. We want to reduce human suffering. So let me play this video.
We have allowed our country to be taken over from within. And the end goal is you will have a homogenized world where we will become slaves. Because there is a condition among the elites that really thinks they're better than you. Deep down inside them, that you don't deserve the freedoms you have. They don't. This reality is what people need to wake up to. And we need to all unite working people. There's only one movement that can do that. And that is the movement that we started creating here in Massachusetts, the movement for truth, freedom, and health. Look, I've been a student of politics since I was a 4-year-old kid, studying revolutionary movements, left wing, right wing. There's a physics, there's a nuclear science to destroying the establishment. To build a bridge, you need to understand Newton's equation. You need to understand the laws of gravity. You need to understand Poisson's ratio. There is a way to build a revolution. And that's why I put this together. My goal is to train an army of truth, freedom, and health leaders. We don't need followers like social media. We need leaders, but they need training because the educational system does not teach them history, nothing. So in 3 hours, that's what I've started doing. That's the solution. We got to train people. First, with understanding what a system is, the dynamics of all systems that affect nature. The second is understanding the interconnection between truth, freedom, and health. Freedom is the ability to move freely, communicate freely, talk freely. Without freedom, you cannot convert ideas, hypothesis into truth, which is science. And without freedom, you can't really get to truth. And without truth, you make up fake problems and fake solutions, which means you destroy our health. And without health, which is the infrastructure of us and our body, you can't fight for freedom. Truth, freedom, health. Third concept is it has to be bottoms up. Working people, people who work uniting. And what the right wing has done is whenever you say working people unite, that must be communist. Meanwhile, they've let the Democrats run unions, which suppress workers, completely corrupt. But when you look at the arc of American history, it's been when working people came up. We need to go local. Every solution I'm coming up with as a part of this movement, we're giving the science, which is the truth, and then we tell people what they can do on the ground. Like with election fraud, you don't need to wait for some lawyer. Our goal is to train people to go local, to go local, to go local, fight locally. Forget lawyers, forget politicians, forget celebrities. You've got to learn politics, and there is a science to it. They lock us down, we should be ready to shut them down. And the fourth part of this principle is the not so obvious establishment. So when you look at a system, there's always something that disturbs you from getting to your goal. Well, the biggest disturbance is the not so obvious establishment, which are those people who claim they're for you, on the left and the right. The Al Sharptons who tell black people I'm for you. The Tucker Carlsons. Do you think any true anti-establishment person will ever be on Fox or CNN? I don't think so. They both mislead working people back into the establishment. Without this solid understanding of political physics and theory, you're screwed. You're going to follow on the left wing, Bernie Sanders. Oh, he said something. Or Robert Kennedy. Scumbags. Or you're going to follow some right-wing talk show host. They're not going to lead us to liberation. It's us. We're building a bottoms-up movement, and that political physics, it's a nuclear science of change. Bottoms up. We have to organize to understand that there is people who talk a good game and then look at what they actually do, left and right. I'm sorry, Sean Hannity may say some good things, but I don't see the urgency in his voice to get something done, and it can only come when you weaponize yourself with the right knowledge. You need to be able to identify a rat You know, Christ didn't go after the Romans, right? It was the Pharisees and the Sadducees who screwed him up. His own quote unquote people. And that's where we're at. So these 4 concepts I've built into a curriculum where people can go to truthfreedomhealth.com, and it's an educational program. We need to train people in political theory. You need to have physics, and I've created that curriculum. People need to get educated. We need to get educated fast. And within a half an hour, I can teach people. 2 years of MIT control systems, I teach people those concepts. Then I apply it, anyone can understand it. And then you say, oh, I got to build a bottoms-up movement. They have to get politically astute, and then they have to go locally and act, not sit there on social media. They have to act locally, defy locally, do civil obedience locally, but with knowledge on how to build a movement. Now, the Senate campaign's expanded to the Movement for Truth, Freedom, and Health, and they can find it on truthfreedomhealth.com, so people can sign in, they can get access to a bunch of videos. If they want to take a course and become a Truth, Freedom, Health leader, I offer a full scholarship there, but we want people to make a commitment that they'll study, that they'll get certified, that they'll go do activities on the ground. So go to truthfreedomhealth.com.
All right, we have thousands of comments here, so it's very, very active. So we want to, this is Dr. Shiva Ayyadurai. Our show, our conversation, I don't really want to call it a show. It's much more serious than some show. It's about Zionist, racist, Booby F'n Kennedy, pro-war, liberal imperialist. And by the way, every Thursdays at 11 a.m. and at 8 p.m. EST, all of us on this call, we do an open house. And it's really to invite all of you to participate in a much larger conversation. You get to introduce yourself. We get to meet you. Please join. What you just saw was the video I just played about our movement. We do a lot of hard work here, so you can support this movement. You can support yourself. It's a reciprocal process. Go become a Truth, Freedom, and Health warrior. Contribute, get books, help yourself. You can join in whatever way you seem appropriate. But the bottom line is we live in a world where there are a set of people who really, really appreciate skill and knowledge. And a lot of people are very cursory and they think they know it all. But engineering sciences are a very difficult set of concepts, but we've made it very accessible to people. The elites actually understand these concepts and they use these and they nerd out on them. And once you understand this nuclear physics, you can really use to understand the difference between truth, freedom, health, and power, profit, control. While you guys were off the call, me and Justin just said a quick aside, just a very important, subtle point, but it's an information point. Booby Kennedy knows exactly what he's doing. It's not like he's quote unquote reading a script, right, Justin? He is reading that script willingly. So we don't want to give this guy an inch. He lives in Malibu. He lives, he needs Zionist support or he thinks he needs Zionist support because he's in that realm he'll probably get a check for $100 million tomorrow, right? And so he's doing this willingly. They read their scripts willingly. Justin, I just wanted you to clarify that. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, absolutely. The thing is, to me, it looks very obvious about where a lot of his campaign funding is coming from. And he's basically willing to do whatever it takes to get the money. And he isn't caring about the people that he's purporting to represent.
Yeah, so that's the important point. Now, so let me just summarize for people. I want to thank Justin and Jason again. Justin and Jason are two of our Truth from Health Warrior scholars. They're in leadership training. Justin's out of Northern Ireland and Jason's out of Maine. So we have a movement, 400,000, 500,000 people worldwide. 500 million people know about us. They can't suppress us. So the only thing they can do is make me invisible. It's not working. But the key thing is this. With Booby F'n Kennedy, in summary, we've shared with you that, number one, he speaks he's a serpent with multiple tongues. Most serpents have 2 tongues. He's got 10 tongues. And you don't know which one's saying what at what time on any topic. One day he's anti-vax. Another day he's pro-vax. And then he wants vaccination of all Americans. Then he wants the CDC, the corrupt CDC. He's going to reform them, make safe vaccines. But the bottom line is he wants government in your lives. His whole family has wanted government in your life. So that's a takeaway. No one's discussing this, but our movement and what I'm sharing with you. They don't want to talk about that there's a presumption that government should be involved in putting something into you. It started with his uncle, John F. Kennedy, then his other uncle, Ted Kennedy, who built the National Vaccine Injury Program to protect Big Pharma. And now he wants to make safe vaccines. Wait a minute. We don't want any of this shit. We want all of this to go away. As president, I will remove the 1962 Vaccination Act. And if anything, replace it with the 2023 or 2024 National Immunity Act. Boost your immune system. Okay? Very different. We're diametrically opposed. He's with Big Pharma. I expose Big Pharma. He was for lockdowns. I oppose lockdowns. He is supporting Elon Musk, who runs the censorship industrial complex. I expose Elon Musk and suffer for it. Okay? He's pro-war. I'm anti-war. You can see me from 1984 leading massive demonstrations, be it when Reagan wanted to invade El Salvador and Nicaragua, the Iraq War. I've been freaking consistent. And I have exposed and fought against Zionism. We've demonstrated massive demonstrations against these crazy racist Zionists, okay, who come into Massachusetts. We chased out Henry Kissinger. We chased out Caspar Weinberger in massive protests. That's my history. Now, anyone having any illusions that the Kennedys are somehow men of peace, hopefully, Justin, I think we've handled Kennedy, right? What do you guys think? Does anyone know this guy supports the military-industrial complex?
Yeah, the other thing as well, you're for truth, freedom, and health. He's for power, profit, and control.
Yes. Yes, and that means he supports the military-industrial complex. He doesn't give a damn about the Israeli people or the Palestinian people. He cares about some crazy Zionist hoodlum he wants to support to create even more. I mean, Palestinians right now seeing that video are going to go crazy. Right? They want to create that anger. That's what he's doing. Okay. Farisha Jabran says Kennedy turned out to be a piece of shit. I like everything you're saying in there, except we need to change a couple of verbs there. It should be Kennedy has always been a piece of shit. Okay. So this is, a lot of nice people think, well, oh my God, no, he's always been like this, guys. He's always been like this. So that's what we're trying to illuminate. You don't suddenly become like this. He was always like this. Okay. So when we say always, let's go back to his uncle, Camelot. Okay. Who had venereal disease as a teenager, should never ever been into the, you can go read about it. Was unqualified to go into the Navy. The mobster father, Joe Kennedy, manipulated all the rules to get him into the Navy. The guy blew up a fucking ship, which was one of the biggest disasters in World War II.
And then made him a hero out of it.
Made a hero out of it.
Yeah.
And
they call him a man of peace too. He was no man of peace either.
He wanted to invade Cuba. Then he's the one who bought in Kissinger. And he's the one who really started the war in Vietnam. Now, just to be very clear, I want to thank Michael Tracy for this, a good journalist. He found an original video of Kennedy making it very clear he wanted to be in Vietnam and escalated. So any of you after seeing this, please don't bow down to JF fucking Kennedy, okay? Another fucker, okay? We've all been brainwashed. In India, people have statues of Kennedy in small villages. The whole world gets brainwashed, okay? So let me play.
Can I just say something on the movement while you're getting that queued up?
Yep.
After watching that video, I just wanted to say, go to truthfreedomandhealth.com or go to Shiva for President, and sign up as a warrior. Take the course. See them pulling the strings. You'll be able to see them pulling the strings. Also, we need help getting on this ballot. So get involved with Truth Freedom.
Sorry, Jason. I'm not being a good salesperson here. Okay, so let me do some sales work.
We need help getting on the ballot. So go to Shiva for President and help us out with that. Get involved.
Yeah. Let me show you the first thing everyone can do to keep it really simple. And we don't want to beg to you guys because we know everyone's an adult. You'll do the right thing. The first thing anyone can do is to go get one of these bumper stickers. Okay, very simple. You go to shivaforpresident.com, you contribute a little money. I think it's like $5. Shipping is included, and you'll get one of these. You can order more and put these on the back of your car. Why is it important to put the back of your car? 100,000 people will see it. 100,000 people will see it. So get one of these and put it on the back of your car, okay? Number one, all right? So the first thing I want everyone to do, get one of these bumper stickers and put it on the back of your car, to Jason's point. The second thing everyone can do here is to go volunteer. We need to, every state in the United States, we need to get on the ballot. They all cheat. You know, they stole my election and they're going to try to cheat, but it doesn't matter. Every time they cheat, we expose more of it. So this is a huge opportunity, not for me, but for all of you to get involved, get on the ground. We want you in the good fight. You'll see the stuff right in front of you. Right? I was telling Justin earlier, we want you to do action. Start collecting signatures. You'll see how they cheat, and that'll grow your consciousness. You have to get active. So go to shivaforpresident.com, volunteer. It's very simple. You click a button, fill it in. Our people will call you. We'll help you get onboarded. Number 3, you can donate. But unlike other people say, beg me for money. Oh, it's Zionism. I love you. This is about you. You donate, and I send you stuff. I send you books. We send you articles. We send you an entire course because we want to elevate your consciousness. Our movement, our run for office is about you raising your consciousness, getting out of this lesser of two evils nonsense. Whatever happens in the world, you have to sit quietly, meditate, and understand, you know what? I'm going to always do the right thing. I'm not going to do what's opportunistic. I'm going to do what's right. And what's right is getting one of these bumper stickers, right? Becoming a member of this movement because it's for you. And if you don't want to do it for yourself, do it for your kids because they want to kill us. Life expectancy is going like this. And you have the opportunity to change that because we have the right science. We have the right weaponry, which is the right knowledge. Knowledge is ultimately the weapon. All right. Thanks, Jason, for reminding me of that. All right.
All right. Yeah.
All right. So, and by the way, all of you, this is just go every Thursdays, 11 a.m. and 8 p.m. Come to our open house, vashiva.com/orientation. Anyway, now let's continue. Jason and Justin, I want to play for everyone this video, okay? It's a very, and I want to thank Michael Tracy for this, who discovered this video because you have all these people who were bamboozled by the Kennedys. And so here's that video that I want to thank Michael Tracy. He's a good guy. He found this. And what is it? And I said, the Kennedy Camelot mythos brainwashes America to bow down to royalty and absolve reality. JFK, a man of peace, killed for wanting to end the Vietnam War, begins the tale. Right? So everyone says, oh my God, Kennedy wanted to end the Vietnam War. Oh my God, he was killed for that bullshit. Right? So you'll see all these Kennedy sympathizers or revisionists saying, oh, John F. Kennedy was a man of peace. He wanted to stop the Vietnam War and the guy was killed. Okay. Well, this is literally 2 months before, or 6 to 8 weeks before Kennedy was killed. And Kennedy had no intention to end the war. Now, let me hear it. Let's play it. Okay. So if you think, so a bunch of Kennedy numbskulls think Kennedy wanted to stop the war. He was fighting the inside fight. Sound very familiar? And oh my God, he was our fighter, our hero. And the military industrial complex killed him because he wanted to pull out of Vietnam. So this is literally 6 weeks before he gets shot. So here you go.
But these people who say that we ought to Vietnam are wholly wrong because if we
let me start again.
But these people who say that we ought to withdraw from Vietnam are wholly wrong because if we withdrew from Vietnam, the communists would control Vietnam. Pretty soon, Thailand, Cambodia, Laos, Malaya would go, and all of Southeast Asia would be under the control of the communists and under the domination of the Chinese. And then India, Burma would be the next target. So I think we should stay. We should make it clear, as Ambassador Lodge is now making it clear, that while we want to help, we don't see a successful ending to this war unless the people will support it. And the people will not support the effort if the government continues to follow the policy of the past 2 months. I hope that will be clear to the government. It should be. After all, they've been conducting this struggle for 10 years, and I admire what the president has done. He's been counted out a number of times. I'm hopeful that he will come to see that they have to reestablish their relationship.
Okay. So everyone clear? Justin and Jason, did you guys hear that clearly? He's clearly saying,
Yeah.
we have no interest in pulling out of Vietnam. Okay. We're going to stay there forever. Okay. And he supports the South Vietnamese president who's fighting the Viet Cong. So anyone who's brainwashed you into thinking Kennedy was a man of peace and he was fighting the internal Pentagon, he says it very clearly. We have to stay there, right? We have to win this war. And he proposes the scumbag Kissinger's domino theory. Oh, if Vietnam goes, then Indonesia goes, then everything goes all the way to India. Okay? So that is JFK. So if you have any problem or any issues thinking that, or any brainwashing notions that John F. Kennedy was a man of peace and he died fighting to get out of Vietnam, it's absolutely false. Okay? All right. Now, let me go to the brother of Robert Kennedy, John F. Kennedy, the father of Robert Kennedy. Again, another guy who was shot. And oh my God, Bobby, they used to call him Bobby, the father. He was a man of peace. He got shot because he too wanted to get out of Vietnam, right? You've heard that story. So I'm going to now read you Robert Kennedy's speech on the floor of the Senate. Remember, he was a U.S. Senator from New York, making it very clear that Lyndon B. Johnson, who people are portrayed as a real warmonger, Kennedy's totally supporting Lyndon Johnson staying in Vietnam, okay? And let me show you that. And this is, again, from Michael Tracy, okay, who found this document. I always like to give credit to people, you know, who do the work. Kennedy steals all my stuff, okay? But here we go. Michael Tracy says, May 6, 1965, Robert F. Kennedy on the Senate floor. So remember, Robert F. Kennedy's the father, denounces the concept of withdrawing from Vietnam as an intolerable, quote, repudiation, end quote, of his brother's previous commitments, declares support for Lyndon Johnson's war policy as a continuation of JFK's war policy. And this is what he says. So this is Robert Kennedy giving a speech on the floor of the United States Senate. He goes, Mr. President, which is to the Senate president, I vote for this resolution because our fighting forces in Vietnam elsewhere deserve the unstinting support of the American government and the American people. I do so in understanding that, as Senator Stennis said yesterday, quote, it is not a blank check. We are backing up our men and also backing up the present policy of the president, which means bomb the shit out of Vietnam. If we substantially enlarges or changes it, I would assume he would come back to us in one way or another. And this is liberal imperialism. You see, the right-wing Republicans say, just go bomb those yellow people out there. The liberal imperialist always couches it in a nice way. You see what he says? We are backing our men and women, also backing up the president. If he substantially enlarges or changes it, I would assume he would come back to us in one way or another, which means, hey, if you're going to bomb them more, just ask us for approval and we'll let you bomb them more. We confront three possible courses in Vietnam. The first is the course of withdrawal, which is what a man of peace would have done. Such a course would involve a repudiation of the commitments undertaken and confirmed by three administrations. It would imply an acquiescence in communist domination of South Asia, a domination unacceptable to the peoples of the area struggling to control and master their own destiny. Listen to the double talk. We're going there manipulating their destiny, or the U.S. imperialism is. It would be an explicit and gross betrayal of those in Vietnam who have been encouraged by our support to oppose the spread of communism. It would promote an inexorable tendency in every capital to rush to Peiping and make the best possible bargain for themselves. It would gravely, perhaps irreparably, weaken the democratic position in Asia. So, black and white, Robert F. Kennedy was all for staying in Vietnam, clearly says we should not withdraw. At a very critical time, 1964. And that war kept going on for another 6-7 years. Poor whites and poor blacks were butchered in that war. Young 17-year-old kids. No Kennedy died in that war, okay? But poor blacks and poor whites died in that war. You know, I had a friend in the Vietnam War. He was a black guy with his white soldiers. He said one time they were in the jungles and Ho Chi Minh had constructed this huge statue of a black man in chains. And he said, black man, why are you fighting for a country which doesn't even give you the right to vote, which doesn't even give you civil rights? All right. So that is your freaking Kennedys. John Kennedy started Vietnam, escalated it. Robert F. Kennedy had an opportunity to withdraw, said we must not withdraw. Booby fucking Kennedy wants to support freaking U.S. imperialism and Zionism, racism in Israel. They all bow down to the god of the military-industrial academic complex. They are not men of peace, period. And that's why those of you joining today, that's why we were very clear, very precise, as Justin said, Zionist racist. Hope you understand. Zionism is racism. Go look back in the video if you don't get it. Booby fucking Kennedy. That's his name. He's pro-war, and he's a quote-unquote liberal imperialist. What you see with liberal imperialism is they screw you but try to make you feel good about it. That's what they do. The open imperialist says, I'm going to kill you. I'm going to bury Goldwater. He just wanted to bomb he just wanted to bomb the shit out of Vietnam. But Robert F. Kennedy says, you can bomb it, but if you want to bomb it more, just come back and ask me. Right? You see how they do it? It's very sophisticated. It's very diplomatic fuckery. Okay? And that's liberal imperialism. You're better off knowing that the open imperialist says, I'm going to screw you, Jason. I'm going to come after you. I'm going to rape all your children. The liberal imperialist says, I'm going to rape one of your children, and I'm going to go back to the government to see if I can get approval to rape 2 more.
Yeah, I want to say something on that. I mean, It's like, would you rather get punched in the face or stabbed in the back? Because I'd rather get punched in the face. And
well, you can at least do something.
Double talk, at least you see it coming, right? And it's not talk nice to me, and then when I turn around, that's the way I look at that.
Yeah, but I hope everyone understands that the content we're sharing with you today, you will not get this analysis anywhere on the freaking planet. All those grifters, a really fucked up grifter, Russell fucking Brand. The guy looks evil. He looks like fucking Charles Manson to me every time. I want to throw up when I see his face. I really do. This guy sucks off Kennedy. Never asked him any real question. Megyn Kelly never asked him any real question. Joe Rogan never really asked him any question. He avoids me like the plague because I'll destroy him. So all of these grifters are part of the Zionist racist cabal. It doesn't matter which one of them get elected, guys. They're all part of that warmongering cabal, whether it's Trump, whether it's Kennedy, whether it's DeSantis, whether it's that fucking other, turd that they found out. They needed a brown face so they could hide from me. And that's what Vivek is, right? A freaking pro-vaccine mandating, pro-big pharma. The guy will say anything. He sounds like a used car salesman when I see him. Every time I see his mouth, all I see is a used car salesman. So that's what these people are. And they don't care. They're all auditioning for the elites. And the elites are seeing who will fuck over the masses, like Jason said, through backstabbing. It's a beauty pageant that's being run right now. And the elites are saying, ooh, Booby Kennedy's really, really got all these fucking idiots thinking he's going to fight for them. Well, Trump is a little bit fucked up because he did Operation Warp Speed. Fuck. They're figuring that out. Maybe DeSantis, DeSantis, did some things. So they're auditioning people, and they surely do not want me being in that competition. And the only let me finish, Jason. The only people who want me in this competition is you guys. And in order to do that, go get a bumper sticker. Okay? Simple activities. Let's talk action. Get a bumper sticker. Go to shivaforpresident.com, volunteer. But most importantly, if you don't do any of that, get educated. Go to truthfromhealth.com. Get educated. Get your brain corrected. Get all those neural networks clear of all the forgiving that you've given these people. Don't give them an inch. Go ahead, Jason.
Yeah, I just want to say, I'm sure there's a couple people watching this. Why is he going to call out Russell Brand? Why is he going to talk about Joe Rogan now? These guys say good things, and they do say good things, or whatever. Maybe they have a good show. But people look at Joe Rogan as some kind of fighter for free speech. If he wants free speech, he wants it for his show, But my point is, these are the people who get you to do nothing. You know, that's what I want you to understand. That's why Dr. Shiva, first of all, somebody's got to call him out. So that's why he calls him out. Number two,
Well,
these are the people.
Hey, Jason, just go to Joe Rogan. Let's be very precise here. Joe Rogan has had multiple opportunities in 2020 and in 2014 to have us on a show. Eddie Bravo contacted him, who's his close friend. Okay.
Yeah.
So let's not give him an inch. For God's sake, let's be very precise here. He consciously chose not to put me on because I was exposing GMOs. He was pro-GMO. I was exposing the vaccines. He was pro-vax. Then when he saw the MAGA group go this way, then he went that way. Okay. But he is owned by a multi-billion-dollar infrastructure, Spotify, and by Endeavor. His agent is Ari Emanuel. Please draw the connection right back to money. These people say enough. They delay truth to sucker people in. He will never put me on a show because the day he puts me on a show, he's going to lose probably 90% of his audience to me. People say, this is a real guy. You suppress truth, you fucker. That's why he will never put us on a show. So let's not be sure. He doesn't support free speech. Don't give him that. That's false. He's for censorship.
Well, I was saying people think he's actually he's not fighting for anyone. If he's fighting, he's always, he never claimed to be your fighter. He's running a show. He's running
$100 million.
He's an entertainer. But what I'm saying is these people who entertain you and they might expose some things like Russell Brand, they are the ones who are stopping us from doing it yourself. You have to understand it's up to us. That's my real point here.
Well, first of all, again, let's be very clear. Russell Brand, and Justin, you can add in, supported this guy Harari. These people are actually imperialists. Exposing stuff, Jason, any fool can expose stuff. Fucker.
That's what I'm trying to say. Stuff. Yeah, any fool can do that.
You have pedophiles doing movies about pedophilia. Okay? And they make money off of it. Exposing stuff doesn't do anything. You can, write movies on child trafficking. And we all could be 3 Catholic people. Imagine 3 Catholics. Let's say we're all 3 Catholics and we do a movie exposing child trafficking. Imagine if we left out the big elephant in the room, the freaking Vatican. What would you say about that? And that is what Sound of Freedom did. They left out the Vatican. Okay? They were all Catholics who did that movie. And you have to wonder, did they do this movie to make people feel good, but forget about the Vatican, which is a center of pedophilia? So exposing stuff doesn't mean shit. It's when did you expose it? And did you call an action at the right time? So let's not give credit to people who, quote unquote, expose stuff. What did they do? Did they compel an action? Go ahead, Justin.
Absolutely. But my message is, it's more, if you want to be entertained, go ahead, watch this show. If but it's time to be more than entertained. That's really my point. It's time for us to not look for heroes anymore, for working people to unite. And that's the only way that real change it's the only way that real change has ever occurred in the past. And it's the only way that real change is going to occur in the future.
Go ahead, Justin.
No, just when I looked at the Sound of Freedom, I mean, I want to be very clear. I think it's abhorrent that there is child trafficking. I'm so against it, but there's just so many holes in that movie. They don't name names. They don't point to anybody in the past that has been linked to this. They don't mention the Vatican. The actors and stuff involved all made huge amounts of money out of it. If they were really concerned about child trafficking, one of the things that I think you would have donated the money to make sure that the people that actually needed it got it. And to me, it was like one of those movies that sort of placated the middle class or a certain group so that they thought, well, they did something towards it or they played it down. To me, it was, and people are really horrified that you would speak out against the movie. I think that it's good to raise awareness, but the way it was done, it was so sanitized that it really sort of, I thought was like a damn squib going off, and the amount of money that it took to make it. I'm just amazed that people were taken in by it the way they were, and it's just unfortunate. But they own all the theaters, they own all the movie houses. If that really was a threat to them or exposed anything, it never was going to go out. It grossed more money. I mean, you know how good they are at censorship. If that was any concern, that never would have saw the light of day.
Anyway, guys, we have to recognize that the elites are very, very clever.
Highly
And
sophisticated.
they're very clever. And we have to understand that they understand system science. And part of that understanding is to give you news, not when it's the right time. And I've said this story before, but a great engineer who I love a lot called Alan McDonald, he's the one who was the chief engineer in 1986 on the space shuttle. He knew the O-rings would never work under those temperatures. And NASA was forcing him to sign the launch. He refused. And the shuttle blew up. They demoted him. They vilified him. Okay. And he died about 2 years ago at the age of 83 or something. And he said on his 6 months before he died, the most important thing in life is to tell the truth at the right time to the right people. So we have so many internet grifters right now talking all sorts of shit, all these MDs. By the way, a bunch of MDs delivered 100,000 petitions to fire Fauci. We did that in 2020. None of these MDs were there. And they're doing it to recreate history and cover up what we did. We did it at the right fucking time. So for God's sakes, elevate your consciousness. We're not going to give these people 1 ounce of credit. Nada. Not even 1 inch. Not even 1 fucking micrometer. For something they're talking about now when they were Zippo at the time when the shit was hitting the fan. So if you want to change the world, you should have leaders. You should have your heroes. But from among you, guys like me, guys like Malcolm X, they don't want you to have real leaders. They want you to have fake leaders. There will be leaders. But the issue is, where will your leaders come from? Will they be shoved down your throats with all their personal integrity and public integrity not matching? Or will you have your own sense of, wait a minute, I deserve someone like Dr. Shiva? Don't we deserve people who put their ass out on line, say the right thing at the right time? Or are you going to give credit to people who wait 2 years and write a book called The Real Anthony Fauci, stealing from our stuff, suppressing our stuff, rewriting history? What will you do? So in closing, this is really about you. All these people on this, live today, ask yourself, are you ready to fight for yourself and have dignity for yourself? That's what this is about. Because if you're giving Booby Kennedy 1 inch, if you think Russell Brand says some good things, Hitler said some fucking good things. Charles Manson said some fucking good things. What does that mean? It means nothing. That's not a high standard.
Hitler was Time Magazine Man of the Year one time.
Yeah, Hitler was Man of the Year on Time Magazine. The point is, what you say doesn't mean jack shit. When did you say it? And did you do something about it? That's the standard our movement has. When did you say it? And did you do something about it? You ever have friends, they go, oh yeah, Jason, yeah, I told you that, I was thinking the same thing. Well, you didn't say anything fucking 2 years ago when I was, yeah, that's what, Jason, you really should have blah, 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 fill in the blank. Well, why didn't you say that to me when I was suffering? You waited. Now you're telling me you want to slap the shit out of those people. It's like you knew this information and you didn't say anything. So please don't give credit to people who are exposing shit when it doesn't matter anymore. And that's what we're talking about. These are the not so obvious establishment. They're taking advantage of you. All right, everyone. I think we've had a good show. I think I'm done, man. It's been a long day.
Just one more thing on those other people. They'll never tell you to build a movement, and that's what needs to be done.
Yep.
They're entertainers, and we need to build a movement. So go to Shiva for President. Go to truthfreedomandhealth.com. Get involved.
So to be precise, we have built the movement. We have the infrastructure. We need to grow it now, right? So the advantage many of you have, unlike the work we did for the last 3 years, in my case for the last 40 years, is we've created this amazing building. We have the building, we have tools, we have everything. It's all here for you. So get involved right now. Act, get a bumper sticker, get involved in the presidential campaign, get involved in the community. It's all here for you. It's a gift. The movement has been built. It's built. The issue is, do you want to be part of it and help grow it? And so you don't have an excuse saying, well, I guess I have to vote for lesser of two evils. No, if you heard this, then something's wrong with you. If you appreciate everything we're saying that Justin said, I said, Jason said, and you're not going to take action, then you really have to look at yourself in the mirror. Okay? All right, guys, this is great. We want to thank everyone who's been here now for almost 2 hours with us. And as we go, we're going to play our very inspiring video for Dr. Shiva for president. And guys, just hold on after this is done. And but get involved. We've created the environment. We have coaches, we have teachers, we have leaders, right? You can be a leader wherever you are, anywhere in the world. Get freaking involved. Get off your butt. Thank you. Here we go.
Who would have ever thought I'd be running for president of the United States of America? I was born a low-caste untouchable in India's caste system, a system of aristocracy, oppression, and racism. My name is Dr. Shiva Ayyadurai. I'm an MIT PhD, a Fulbright scholar, a scientist, engineer, entrepreneur, and inventor. My family and I left India to come to America on my 7th birthday. I grew up in the working-class neighborhoods of New Jersey, playing baseball, mowing lawns, painting houses, and coding software. My friends and neighbors are blacks, Italians, Irish, people of all races. As a 14-year-old, I wrote 50,000 lines of software code to create the world's first email system, and was awarded the first U.S. copyright for email, recognizing me as its official inventor at a time when copyright was the only way to protect software inventions. I did that long before I ever came to MIT, revealing that big innovations can occur anytime, any place, by anybody. Growing up, I saw politicians dividing us by race and religion in both America and India, to have us fighting each other while they remained safe in their gated communities and in their playgrounds of Hollywood, Martha's Vineyard, and Silicon Valley. I'm a fighter. I fought racism and exposed their imperialist wars, fought for workers, and put my life on the line against global corruption. I never wanted to run for political office. All that changed when I saw working Americans as never before being duped by the establishment and the not-so-obvious establishment. Across left and right, we were being sold out and made to forget why we came to America and why America existed. Lawyers, academics, billionaires, celebrities, and politicians, elites, Clintons, Kennedys, Bidens, Obamas, Bushes, black and white have hijacked America. They printed trillions for their friends. They delivered crumbling infrastructure, corruption, and racism. They've transferred trillions to themselves, dividing black and white, fear-mongering, and fake science. Lockdowns and censorship, dirty air, food, and water, pushing drugs upon us, making us sicker. We've been sold out. One set of rules for them and another for us. We deserve a warrior with a history of courage in putting everything on the line for you, who believes in you, not them, who has created a movement bottoms up for truth, freedom, health. I've exposed their lies at the right time, never waiting until it was popular. I've exposed their false gods who exist to lead you back to them. I've exposed their fake science of lockdowns and masking and provided you solutions to fight them and win and protect your immune system, saving millions. I exposed Fauci, galvanized the Fire Fauci campaign when others remained silent. When they stole our election, we sued the government and Twitter in our historic 2020 federal lawsuit, exposing in bare view the government and big tech censorship infrastructure, the unholy alliance between government and social media companies. Where was Elon and his grifters? They stood by the sidelines and did nothing. They did not use their megaphones to help us when it could have made a big difference. Now our movement grows for truth, freedom, health, independent of all of them. Every day, millions are learning the science of systems, the knowledge the elites do not want you to have, so you may learn how to think, stand up, and fight, independent of the establishment of left and right and their fake heroes. Now it's time for you to join the movement, to win back America, to win back truth, win back freedom, win back your health. That's why I'm running for president of the United States. This race is about you. This race is about truth, freedom, health versus power, profit, control. We've had enough. They think we'll fall in line and vote again for their lawyers, celebrities, billionaires, and chosen ones from above. We choose our heroes from below, from the rank and file, who do what is right at the right time, not when it's convenient and popular. They can never represent us. What America needs is a movement by the working people, for the working people, who are educated, organized, decentralized, and fight for independence from their systems of control. and that movement exists. It's ready for you. We don't need them. We need us to go bottoms up, neighbor to neighbor. My journey, your journey are all the same. It's our time. It's time we had one of us. It's time to win back truth, freedom, health, to win back America. Be part of this historic movement all the way to our victory on November 5th, 2024. If you're an American citizen, pledge your vote now for Dr. Shiva Ayyadurai, the independent candidate for U.S. President. No matter where you live, you can be a part of this. Volunteer as little as 20 minutes a day. Don't delay. This is Dr. Shiva Ayyadurai, and I approve this message, paid for by Dr. Shiva for President.
Everyone, I hope that was valuable. This is Dr. Shiva. I want to thank our wonderful guests. Justin stayed awake very late in Northern Ireland, who joined us, and Jason Valera right here in Maine. But get involved. Go to Shiva for President. We've created all the tools for you. You'll meet a lot of great people. Get involved. So be well, everyone. Hold on one second. Again, to those of you who just came in late, you may want, if you want to go look at this video. This is about Zionist, racist, Booby F'n Kennedy Pro-War, liberal imperialist. That's what we discussed. All right, everyone. Be well. Let me bring our guests back, and we'll all wave goodbye. All right, everyone. Wave goodbye to everyone. Thanks, everyone. Be well. Hold on.